I want to tell you about the Triax versus the Halon 32 and the Craze. I've been a fan of the Halon bows, and I'd even argue I've been a fan of the Halon bows since the Mathews Wake, which was almost a predecessor to all these Halons. Of course, you could argue about the HTR as well. And so I bought the first Halon in Stone Tactical. Actually got a Pope and Young size bear with it. And I liked the Halon. I had a Halon 5 at the time, but I actually had a little time, had to take a little while to really get used to that bow with the brace height and the strong string angle. Then, as you know, last year in 2017, they introduced the Halon 32, which is on my far right. And I have it over here in the Reaper Tactical. And the idea was that now we had a Halon 32, we didn't have to deal with that harsh string angle. And so there was a drastic improvement in shootability, so to speak. And then this year, they decided that, well, actually, you can get away with a 28-inch axle to axle. So we went from a Halon 30 axle to axle to Halon 32, back down to Halon 28. And of course, well, to be honest with you, it shoots great. I would call it a baby Halon, not to disrespect it. So it's shooting fast, and it's very dead in the hand, as you've probably heard. In the middle, I have the Craze. This bow is actually also 28 inches axle to axle. Obviously, it's a world's difference in performance, but it was built for anybody to shoot from youth onward. I've actually been sending some arrows down range with these different bows, and I'll give you the results of that. My basic feelings is, because the whole idea of the Triax is it makes it easier for you to hunt with because of its small size. You can get in and out of ground blinds, or maybe you're hunting in a tree stand where you have lots of tree limbs around you, that it's going to make it a little bit more maneuverable. I've never had too much trouble hunting with a little bit longer axle to axle. I do have to think about it more, though. So I've hunted with 33-inch and 34-inch bows in relatively small blinds, but you always have to think about where the limb is and where the cams are in regards to everything. The nice thing about the Triax is I think that it'll be a lot easier to get in those small blinds without having to worry about the hitting the roof and things of that of your blind. Now this just to give you an idea about axle to axle, this Craze here is also, again, 28 inches. And you'll see, actually, they're really pretty darn close to each other except for the cam size. If I were to overlap them, you'll see that there is about 2 or 3 inches difference in the actual size of the bow. But you're talking about an adult bow that is the size of a youth to adult bow. I can tell you right offhand that in my opinion, the Halon 32, 6 inches, is just a little bit easier draw cycle than the Triax. I feel like the Triax, you pay for more of the draw cycle up front. It's a little stiffer up front. And then you have a very generous valley. And the back wall is super solid. While on the Halon 32, I'm finding that the draw cycle continues throughout more of the draw range, so it makes it a little bit easier throughout the, because you're not paying for it up front, but you have a little bit shorter valley. I'm also getting more speeds out of my Triax by 3 to 4 or 5 feet per second than I am from the Halon 32. And again, the Craze, even at 70 pounds and 29 inches, all these bows are at 29 inches by Mathews standards, which usually means about half an inch more. World of difference. Probably 40, 50 feet per second slower with that Craze at 70 pounds for the same arrow. So I'll go ahead and shoot a few of them through. But everything they say about the Triax as far as being dead in the hand, that is definitely true. But you're not. I found the Halon 32 excellent in hand too. Accuracy, long range, I haven't had a chance to really play with that, but I'm finding plenty of accuracy in bow hunting range with the Triax. So I'm really impressed with it. Quick bow. Like I said, I do hunting ground blinds a lot, so it's going to be beneficial. But I've also made longer bows work in ground blinds too. Just won't have to do as much worrying and thinking about my angles and my seat height and things like that. Anyway, let me shoot a few outside and see what happens. All right, so I'm outside now. You can see the 3 bows together, and I'm shooting 3 arrows. One's going to be a 365 grain carnivore. It's in the red and white veins. A 385 grain blue Carbon Express, and then I have a 775 grain arrow from Mammoth, from Bishop Archery. They donated them to me to shoot, and I'm going to shoot that through. So I'm going to shoot these 3 arrows through these 3 bows. Yeah. First up is the Craze. This was my son's bow, and it is set roughly 70 pounds, 29 inches. I put some new strings on it, and I'm going to first shoot the 365 grain carnivore. And again, I don't expect this bow to perform anywhere like those other ones. It's great for youth. It's great for what it does. But I thought since it's short axle to axle, it might be kind of interesting to compare to the Halon. Can you move over? You see through there? You gotta film me too. They got 266. Might go up a little closer so they can see. That is with a 365 grain arrow. Now I'm going to shoot the 386 grain arrow. Again, you'll kill stuff with this, and I'll probably use it for bow fishing. Back wall is obviously going to be soft. I can pull through it even further. There's no hard back wall to this bow. But this was a great bow for my son to improve his archery skills with. But so if looking at me, you'll see that you can just, there is, you know, it's a very soft back wall. We got 256, so slow down a little bit. Pause. Okay, now I'm shooting a 773 grain arrow, and it has a huge front of center. Whatever with front, so 20% front of center for all your FOC freaks. We got 190 feet per second, so slow down quite a bit. Yeah. Next up is the Triax. Again, you can see the axle to axle is really close to each other. Well, it is essentially supposed to be the same. The wheels or cams are just the big difference, of course, in limbs and risers, but that's an example of two 28-inch axle to axle bows, meaning that the overall length can be quite a bit more. That said, this is a very handy little bow for tight blinds. Anyway, the first up is the 365 grain carnivore. Like I said, I think beautiful valley for them, really pay for most of it up front, the draw cycle wise. We got 319 feet per second, which is moving along really fast. I think it's actually doing everything it's supposed to be when it comes to IBO. That's really nice speed. Let's try the 386 grain arrow. I think I'm going to like this bow, actually. We got 308, which is plenty of speed. Getting that over 300 feet per second makes me happy. Let's look at this 773 grain arrow. I'm going to call this the Amtrak Express. I'm not going to get a lot of speed out of it, but it'll go through cinder blocks. So anyway, let's see how fast that goes. Oh, I picked up the Halon 32. Thanks for the filmmaker telling me. All right, so now we're going to shoot the 774 grain arrow through and see what the Triax does. Now this one will be pretty slow, but some people really like heavy arrows. We got 222 feet per second. Pause. All right, now I have the Halon 32. It's going to go through its series of arrows. We've seen some really decent speeds from that Triax. The first up is the 365 grain arrow. Again, this is a 70-pound bow. Set at Mathews is 29 inches, but most reviews suggest it's probably 29 and a half, or a little bit longer than 29 anyway. But I am comparing Mathews bows to Mathews bows. And well, let's just go ahead and shoot it. Draw cycle. This is slightly easier in the beginning than the other bows. We got, that's a misreading. Let me shoot it again.
Go.
All right, so now I'm going to shoot the 365 grain arrow through our chronograph. We got 313. Let me shoot the Triax through with the same arrow. Okay, let's shoot it again one more time. We got 301. So again, we're still getting more speed out of that Triax. Let's go ahead and shoot the heavy arrow. We had 222 with the Triax. Let's see what this one does. 776 or something like that. We got 220. So we're talking 2 to 4 feet per second difference. Some of that might be just with the basic bow setup. Slightly more dead in the hand. Slightly easier draw cycle. Feels like a slightly harder back wall. You'll have to decide whether or not you think it's a little more accurate not to have a longer bow. The big advantage again is I do like to hunt in blinds a lot, especially when turkey season's coming around the corner. Less thinking to do when it comes to worrying about a cam hitting a ceiling. It just depends on the blind you're using, but small blinds require smaller bows. Well, so they did it. Mathews convinced me to buy another Halon-like bow, but just another 2 or 3 inches difference in axle to axle. And well, they're excellent at marketing, and they have excellent bows, and you're not going to go wrong with it. Anyway, have a good day. Dan, 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 dan.